You know, I have colleagues come up and tell me that don't worry about it. We're the Saudi Arabia of coal. We have 500 years of coal. That's not true. We used to say we had 250 years of coal. Be careful at present use rates. People don't understand the exponential function of growth. 2% growth, pretty tiny, isn't it? Our stock market doesn't really like 2% growth. It wants more than that. 2% growth doubles in 35 years, 4 times bigger in 70 years, 8 times bigger in 105 years, 16 times bigger in 140 years. You think we'll still be here in 140 years? You can't grow at 2%. You can't grow at 2%. I wish you would read M. King Hubbard's thesis, and particularly read Hyman Rickover's fantastic speech. When he gave that speech, he said that each housewife, wow, if it was true back then in 57, what is it like today? He said that the conveniences that the housewife had in her house, powered by fossil fuels, was the equivalent, he said, of 33 faithful household servants. When I first, 244 people turned the crank outside that produced the energy to follow inside on the manufacturing line. When I first saw the data, I couldn't believe it. Every barrel of oil represents 25,000 man-years of effort. Wow, 12 man-years of effort. That can't be true. And we use 84 million barrels of those a day. And then I have a Prius car. It gets me about 50 miles per gallon if I'm careful the way I drive it. And I could, that's little, 50, 1 gallon, so big. I could pull my Prius 50 miles, but it would take me a spell, wouldn't it? With come-alongs and hooking onto the guardrail and so forth, I could pull it 50 miles. You know, when oil was $12 a barrel, and that wasn't long ago, you could buy the life-enhancing effect of hiring a person to work for you all year long to improve your quality of life. You could buy it for $1 at the wellhead. Wow. Well, Hyman Rickover pointed out that the poorest in our country today lives better than ancient kings because of this enormous energy that we have from fossil fuels. Now, it was all put there a very long time ago, and we are now husbanding it very quickly. I love challenges, and if you like challenges, you're going to be really exhilarated by this one. Let me just stop by saying that there are 3 groups out there that have common cause in this. And what we're doing is sniping at each other's premise, where we ought to be locking arms and marching forward because we have very different problems, but exactly the same solution to these problems. The first of these groups is the one we're very familiar with, the global warming, climate change people. And what do they want to do? They want to reduce the carbon footprint by using less fossil fuels and moving to renewables. Boyden, you are a member of a group that believes that we have a true national security risk because we have only 2% of the oil, we use 25% of the oil, we import 2/3 of what we use. Your solution to that problem, sir, is exactly the same solution. We have got to move to renewables. And the third group that has common cause in this are those who understand that fossil fuels are finite, they will run out. And the solution to that problem, of course, is to move away from fossil fuels to renewables. So we have these 3 groups with very different problems, but exactly the same solution. I have no idea whether global warming people are right or wrong. It really, to me, is quite irrelevant because what they want to do about that problem is exactly the right thing to do about 2 other very real problems, a national security problem and the fact that oil is finite. 4 years ago, I led the last Republican Codel before the change of leadership in the Congress, in the House. And 9 of us went to China to talk about energy. They began their discussion of energy by talking about post-oil. Wow. We have trouble seeing beyond the next election. I really want to be a good legislator, but I got to kind of prostitute myself and tell the people what they want to hear because I got to get myself elected. And after that, I'm really going to be a good legislator. My next election is 1 year from now. Our primary is a year from now. You sir, can be honest for about 4 years, and you got to remember people have a memory, so you got to tell them what they'd like to hear for the next 2 years. China had a 5-point plan. I'd just like to close with their 5-point plan. The first was conservation. You know, back in the 70s, Remember that switch, that decal over the light switch? Don't be foolish, turn out the light. Remember the decal over the thermostat, turn it up in the summertime, down in the wintertime? Remember, we didn't have cell phones then, but remember the 1-800 numbers for a van pool? Where is all that today? That was only temporary. The oil was going to come back as soon as the Arabs, cooled down a bit and started selling us oil again. It ain't coming back now, friends. We've reached peak oil. It's just down, down, down from now on. I'd like to make the plea. I have 10 kids, 17 grandkids, and 2 great-grandkids. I'd like to leave something for their future. And, please, please don't go out and exploit the last little bit of remaining oil. Let's leave a little bit for them. We're leaving them a huge debt. Let's leave them a little oil. The solution to this problem is not drill, baby, drill. Solution to this problem is conservation. The 5 parts of the Chinese plan. Conservation, number 1. Number 2, alternatives. Number 3, as much as you can from your own country. Number 4 will shock you. Be kind to the environment. They have 900 million people in rural areas that through the miracle of communications know the benefit of an industrialized society, saying, hey guys, what about us? And China needs to meet their needs or they see their empire unraveling the way the Soviet Empire unraveled. The fifth point, international cooperation. They know that no one country can do it alone. But while they plead for international cooperation, they're out buying oil reserves all over the world. We use 25% of the world's oil. We're buying oil reserves nowhere. What's different about the Chinese perception than ours? I'm exhilarated by this. I love challenges. I'll only be 85 years old in about 3 months, and so I look forward to a long, really tough fight and success. Thank you all very much for your wisdom and your courage.